It's recap time. 3, 2. Hey, quick interruption, Future Chip here. If you're coming from the previous video and you already know the drill, you can skip directly to the recap. Otherwise, if this is your first time, I'll let you with the intro and enjoy the episode. 1. Hello everybody and welcome to the Shower Podcast, the podcast where I'm in my shower and you do you. I'm your host Chip and this is not my usual intro. This is a bit of a special episode. Unfortunately, I will be away for a few days and I found out this interesting way of filling the gaps with recaps from previous episodes. If this is your first time here, use it as an opportunity to find topics that you might be interested in and go back to listen to the original ones. If you are a usual listener of the Shower Podcast, well, again, this might be a rehearsal of topics that you might be interested in. Otherwise, I understand if you want to wait for me to be back. But in the meanwhile, the podcast needs to continue and we need to reach day 365. Having said that, I will not keep you longer. Thank you very much for listening. As always, a like and a subscribe. They are always welcome. And now, recap time.
Hey, welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
So today we're doing something a little different. Chip's been putting out a really interesting series of solo deep dives recently.
That's right. 6 of them back to back.
Exactly. And we thought for anyone who maybe missed one or two or just wants a quick refresher, we'd do a final catch-up, sort of highlights reel.
Yeah, a run through. And look, if any of these topics really grab you, we definitely recommend going back to listen to the full original discussion Chip put together.
Absolutely. He went into a lot more depth, obviously. But for today, let's just weave through the main ideas. We'll go in order, see how the thinking kind of flowed.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Okay, first up was episode 135. It was called Why Self-Improvement Doesn't Work Until You Do This.
Ah, yes, that one. The core idea was pretty foundational, wasn't it?
It really was. Chip basically argued that most people jump straight to the improvement part, the diets, the apps, the hacks.
Without really grappling with the self part first. Like, who are you trying to improve and maybe more importantly, why?
Precisely. He used that gym analogy, remember. You might hit a goal weight for, say, a wedding.
Right, a temporary target.
But if the underlying self, your habits, your relationship with food, your motivations, hasn't actually shifted.
Then you often just revert back once the event is over. It doesn't stick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the big insight was, true, lasting self-improvement has to start with introspection, understanding your weaknesses, your real drivers.
And once you have that clarity, then the methods you pick are much more likely to work because they actually fit you.
It sets the stage nicely, that idea of looking inward first.
It really does. And it connects quite naturally to the next one, episode 136, When Now Echoes Forever.
Right. This one explored those big emotional moments in life, didn't it? The ones that really stick with you.
Yeah, both the good and the bad. Chip used this metaphor of life being like a lake.
And significant events are like stones thrown into it. Big events, big stones, big ripples.
Mm-hmm. And while the initial splash and waves eventually settle, the stone itself is still down there.
Still part of the lake bed, part of your consciousness, your identity.
Exactly. And he made that interesting point about memory, how we can sometimes polish the good memories and maybe forget the harder edges of the bad ones. Rosy retrospection, I think it's called sometimes.
Yeah, our memory plays tricks.
But the key takeaway was that these stones, these unique experiences and the feelings attached to them, they're actually really valuable. They're part of what makes you you.
You shouldn't try to just dredge them up and toss them out.
No, trying to forget them isn't the goal. Understanding how they shape you connects right back to understanding that self we were just talking about from episode 135.
It's all layers, isn't it?
Mm.
Okay, so next was 137. Past me thought you'd like this.
Oh, I like this one. A very practical, almost playful idea.
Yeah, the concept of low-key time travel by sending messages to your future self.
And the method was super simple, just recording short voice notes or video clips.
Right, capturing those fleeting thoughts, ideas, realizations that just pop into your head during the day, things you'd normally forget 5 minutes later.
Definitely. The first benefit is obvious. You create this amazing personal archive of your own thinking. No more, what was that great idea I had yesterday?
Yeah, happens all the time.
But Chip also talked about this more subtle benefit, building trust between your past and future self. Like, your past self is doing you a favor.
And your future self looks back and kind of appreciates the effort, the intention. It creates a positive loop.
And it also gives you this truthful snapshot of how you actually felt or what you were thinking back then. Much more objective than just relying on memory.
Which can be really helpful for self-improvement now, seeing those patterns or past perspectives clearly. Chip even mentioned that doing this show, The Deep Dive, is kind of his version of that.
Yeah, documenting thoughts over time. He basically encouraged everyone to just try it out. Simple habit, potentially big payoff.
Okay, moving on. Episode 138, You Can Make the Difference.
Right, this tackled that feeling of insignificance, I guess, that I'm just one person feeling.
Yeah, what difference can my little action possibly make? It's a common feeling, especially with the big societal issues.
And Chip used the example of voting, which is a classic one for this. Statistically, one vote rarely changes an election outcome.
Right, that's the standard argument against bothering.
But the point wasn't just about the single vote, it was about the collective mindset, the decision to participate or not participate, and how that idea can spread.
Ah, so it's not just your isolated action, but how your choice might, subtly or not so subtly, influence others around you. The interconnectedness of it all.
Exactly. And the idea of the tipping point, how sometimes it's the actions of those seemingly on the fence, the undecided, that can actually shift things.
It's not always about the already committed people.
No. And he broadened it out too, beyond just voting. Think about, like, keeping a park clean. If you see litter everywhere, you might feel less inclined to use a bin yourself, if it's spotless.
You're much more likely to keep it that way. Your perception of what others are doing influences your choice.
Precisely. The final thought was a bit of a nudge. Really, opportunities to make a difference on things you care about aren't infinite.
So don't miss the boat if it matters to you. Act.
Okay, which brings us to 139. It's always the same story.
This one felt like revisiting familiar ground, but maybe with a slightly different perspective.
Yeah, he explicitly connected it back to an older New Year, Say Me idea. It's about the nature of change.
Do we really change fundamentally, or do our core tendencies just persist?
And he used himself as an example again with the Shower Podcast. It was created specifically to fight procrastination.
And it worked, in the sense that he built the habit, he produces the episodes consistently.
But the underlying tendency to procrastinate, apparently it's still there. He mentioned finishing one episode right up against the deadline recently.
Huh, relatable. So the question becomes, when does real change actually happen? Is it a total personality overall?
Probably not, was the suggestion. It's often more about optimizing your processes, building systems or structures that work with your tendencies, rather than trying to completely eradicate them.
So finding ways to manage the procrastination, for instance, rather than expecting to suddenly become someone who never procrastinates.
Exactly. It's about effective strategies and maybe a bit of acceptance, acknowledging that some traits are just deeply ingrained and focusing on managing them well.
Makes sense. Work smarter, not necessarily harder against your own nature.
Right. And then the last one in this batch, episode 140, Why So Complicated?
Ah, the overcomplication trap. We all fall into this, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Assuming things have to be way harder or more complex than they really are.
Chip used examples from sports, like tennis or paddle. Feeling like you have to hit some incredible, complex winner.
When just a simple, solid shot back into court would probably do the job just fine, maybe even better, because it's less risky.
Yeah. We often assume our opponent is amazing, or that we need to bring, 100% maximum effort and complexity to succeed.
When actually, maybe a solid 10% approach, focused on the basics, gets the same result with way less chance of messing up.
Challenge your assumptions about what's actually required. Start simple.
He even used chess as an example. Obviously a super complex game, but often, simple sound moves are incredibly effective. You don't always need the convoluted 10-move combination.
Now, he did add a little nuance, right? Like sometimes a certain baseline is needed.
Oh, for sure. Like applying for a highly competitive job, you can't just wing it. You need the qualifications.
But even then, the advice was start with what you know. Master the fundamentals. Don't automatically jump to the most complicated way of presenting yourself or tackling the problem.
Yeah, which in a way ties back beautifully to the very first episode we talked about.
Understanding yourself, your actual capabilities.
Before you over-engineer the improvement or the solution, know your baseline before you try to build something unnecessarily complex on top of it.
Wow, okay. So that's the run-through of the 6. From self-understanding to past influences, documenting the present, individual impact, managing tendencies, and avoiding overcomplication.
Quite a journey through Chip's thinking there. Hopefully that gives you a good sense of the key ideas.
Yeah, and again, if any of those spark something, the full episodes are there to explore. It's actually been pretty cool revisiting them like this, seeing the connections.
It has. Lots to chew on there.
Well, thanks so much for joining us for this recap. We really appreciate you spending the time with us exploring these thoughts.
We'll be back with more tomorrow.